on the top left box on the outside, you need to write fraction 2%.
How do you know which is the top?
Doesn't matter. Across from that one, you're doing fraction to decimal. So fraction to percent, fraction to decimal. Notes you can do in pen, quizzes and homework you may not. The next line down, you're doing percent to decimal and percent to fraction. On the bottom, decimal 2%, decimal to fraction. So as you can see, we're going to be focusing on, if I give you a fraction, decimal, or percent, you will be able to convert it to the other two. Okay, it's part of your homework today is I'm going to give you a chart and only fill in one of the three. You have to find the answers to the other two. Alright, so let's start with fraction to percent. So open it up, and not on the flap, but on the inside part, you're going to write the steps. So you're going to write divide the numerator by denominator. Then move decimal 2 places, and we're moving it to the right. So I'm going to put an arrow to the right. Okay, so you're going to take and divide the numerator by the denominator. Then you're going to move your decimal 2 places to the right. So on the flat part, let's do an example. Let's say I give you the fraction 3/4. I want that as a percent. So I'm taking my numerator, which is 3, dividing it by 4. Well, 4 can't go into 3, so I have to add a decimal with a 0. Add a decimal to your answer. 4 goes into 30. How many times? 7, which gives me what? 28. I added 2, add another 0, so I got to keep adding zeros until I get a 0 remainder down here. 4 goes into 20 5 times, which gives me 20. So I have 0 left over. So it's 0.75, but I need to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I end up with 75%. To make sure you add the percent sign as well. Carter.
I would divide that. I don't know what you.
You're going to have to learn how to divide that way.
I can teach them.
Huh?
Know what 7 is?
Yes.
That's what I do.
But that is not going to work with this. So you're going to have to learn this way.
That was like a million times harder. Is it?
No.
A million times easier.
Liz?
Okay, 3/4.
Yep.
Can we just do like the quarter thing where you think
If you knew it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's way easier for me.
Yep. Not all of them are going to work out that easily though.
No, just the.
Yep. Okay, so if we're looking at fraction to decimal, same concept. You're dividing your numerator by the denominator. So if you're going fraction to decimal, you just have to divide. You don't have to move the decimal. Alright, so let's look at an example for that. So let's say I have the fraction 2/5, and I want it as a decimal. So Carter, you're going to do this one.
Okay.
What number is going in the inside?
5.
You want your numerator first.
2.
So 2 is going in the inside, 5 on the outside. Can I take 5 and divide it into 2 evenly? No. So I'm going to add a decimal with a 0, add my decimal straight up to my answer. How many times does 5 go into 20? 4 times. So I get 20. So my answer would be 0.4. You just did division that way, Carter.
Good job, Carter.
Hey, questions on if given a fraction, how to change it to a decimal or a percent? Alright, now let's look at the next one. Percent to decimal. So first thing you're going to do is remove the percent sign. If you're going percent to decimal, you got to remove the percent sign. You're going to have to add decimal at the end if no decimal. And then you're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left this time. Okay, so remove the percent sign, add the decimal at the end if no decimal, move decimal 2 places to the left. So let's say I give you 60% and I want it as a decimal. So remove the percent, so I'm going to write it as 60. Add the decimal at the end if no decimal, so there's my decimal. And I'm moving it 2 places to the left, so 0.6. Or you can say 0.60. Is that what you said? Then you'd be right.
I like this. That's the type of math I like.
Good. Okay, let's look at percent to fraction. So again, first thing you're going to have to do is remove percent sign. What are all percents out of?
100.
100. So you're going to place the percent over 100, and since it's a fraction, you have to reduce. Oh, it's going to be over 100 because percents are out of 100. Alright, so let's say I have 62%. So I'm going to remove the percent sign, place it over 100. Now I need to reduce. So what's a number that goes into 62 and 100?
2.
2. So what's 62 divided by 2? 31. What's 100 divided by 2?
50.
Does that reduce anymore? No. So that would be my answer. So Carter, I don't want to hear you say you can't reduce because you just reduced that one. Do what again, Caden?
I didn't really hear you.
Okay, so we removed the percent sign. So we wrote it as 62. We placed it over 100. And then we reduced it. We said 2 goes into both of those numbers. So 62 divided by 2 gave us 31. 100 divided by 2 gave us 50. That does not reduce anymore, so that was our answer. Okay? Question on if you're given a percent, how to change it to a decimal or a fraction. Hey, decimal 2%. So, decimal 2%. Move decimal 2 places to the right. Now we get to add the percent sign instead of removing it. So move 2 decimal places to the right, add the percent sign. So if I'm given 0.55, moving my decimal 2 places, so it'd be 55%. You can drop the decimal at the end then, as long as there's no numbers behind it.
Is that all for that one?
Yep,
That was
that's an easy one. Decimal to fraction's a little bit harder. So you're going to place the decimal over place value. I'll explain that in a minute. And reduce. Alright, so this one I'm going to give you about 4 different examples because you're going to want them. So you might have to write a little small on these. So let's say I give you 0.2. When I'm talking decimal place values, the first place value is called what? The tenth. So I'm going to take 2 and place it over 10 because it's in the tenth place value. Then I'm going to reduce that, so 2/10 reduces to what? 1/5. Not 1/2, 1/5. 1/2 would be 5 over 10. What if I had 0.25? What place value is that in? That's not the tenths. What is it? 100. So I'm going to place 25 over 100. So 25 over 100 reduces to 1/4. Think of quarters.
What about the one place?
There is no ones place value. Tenths, hundredths. And then the next one is thousandths. So if I have 0.333, that would be 333 over 1,000, which does not reduce. And if I gave you 1.3, so if I gave you a whole number with it first, your whole number goes in front of your fraction, just your decimal goes over the place value. So the 3 is in the tenths, so it'd be 1 3/10. Okay, so you're only looking at the decimal place value on that. Go ahead and glue that onto page 13 in your notes.